This time, we are going to check whether the given permutation sigma is a cycle in S8. Now, before we could say that it's a cycle, we need to establish the idea of a cycle. A cycle or a permutation sigma is a cycle in a specific set of a specific set if it has at most one orbit that contains more than one element. That means it's related to the idea of orbits. This permutation sigma here, we already have a video for discussion on solving for the orbits of this given. We might want to check that. But here we're going to still present a shorter method so that we could establish the idea of the cycles as we go from orbits. So we can determine it like this. The first orbit is an orbit containing 1. We're just going to check where is 1 being mapped to. So you will have here 1 is mapped to 2. With that, we are going to continue starting with 2. 2 is mapped to 3. Then you have here this as a 3 is mapped to 5. When do we stop? We stop when we get here a value with same as the first element that we have tried. But since it's not, let's continue here. So how about 5? 5 is actually being mapped to 4. And of course, as we have 4, it's now mapped to 1. With this, we can now establish a set which we call orbit containing the elements. You have 1, 2, 3, 5, and 4. Okay? Now these elements can be rearranged, but let's just stick with this arrangement because there is also another idea that can be connected once we establish a certain cycle later. So we are not yet done because we still have 6. Okay, so 6 is just being mapped to 6, hence the orbit is just a set containing 6. But for 7, as you can see here, 7 is being mapped to 8. And then, if we are going to continue this, 8 is also mapped to 7. So the remaining orbit is the orbit containing 7 and 8. Now we are done with all the orbits. Now we are going to visit now the idea of a cycle. A cycle or a permutation sigma is a cycle if it has at most, what do you mean by at most? A maximum. Okay, at most 1, so a maximum of 1 orbit that contains more than 1 element. So this has 5 elements. Okay, this has 2 elements. This has 1, of course. It's very obvious. How many orbits contain more than 1 element? Okay, we have here 1 and 2. We have an orbit with 5 elements. We also have another orbit with 2 elements. So what will this tell us? This will tell us, using this another color, that our permutation sigma is not. Why it's not? Because for this to be a cycle, we only need at most 1. So a maximum of 1 orbit containing more than 1 element. But here we have 5, we have 2. So we have 2 orbits containing more than 1 element. Hence, again, permutation sigma is not a cycle in S8. Because then again, it will only be a cycle if it has at most a maximum of 1 orbit containing more than 1 element. Of course, this has 1 element, but we do not concern that in determining cycle, because in cycle we just need to see that the what they call this one, the number of orbits containing more than 1 element is only at most 1. Thank you very much for watching.